And you know, it's okay, but it's for the team fight, right? I'll be down 100 CS, just like Lourlo was last game. But Maokai is actually, he has a lot of wave shove. He has a way to gank the lane and have people help him out, gank assistance and gank and roam. So I think that that's a big strength in Maokai and why it's so damn popular and picked up so frequently too.
The final bans for each team in phase number 1 are actually going to be the mid laners played by the other side in game number 2. No LeBlanc for GoldenGlue. This will be the first game in the series he hasn't been allowed to play it. And Keane will be kept off the Jace. When you get 1v2'd for first blood, you don't want to play against the same thing for a second game in a row. Team Liquid going to be locking in Rengar first and foremost. Dignitas says, you want to pick one of the Unholy Trinity? We'll do the same thing, grabbing that Camille for themselves.
The Camille picked up for Ssumday again. This is actually, I believe, his 3rd game in a row of Camille. So he's gotten it every single time. The Jace was banned away from TL in game 1 by TL. So they had banned Zed, Malzahar, Jace. Now it's Zed, Shen, and Jace, because the Malzahar was not picked up in the last game. So they dropped the priority on it and actually put it on Shen instead. So Ssumday doesn't pick that up. But he went for the Camille anyway, like you said.
Also going to be grabbing the Jhin on the side of Dignitas. So that's going to be 3 out of 3 games played on Jhin for LoD. We saw it fail pretty big in game number 1, and we saw it succeed pretty spectacularly in game number 2. So kind of all over the place in the performance of that with this series so far. But we saw last game, when LoD is working with Xpecial, he can make those combos happen. We saw him get a lot of good deadly flourishes from long range, so he was able to further help his team find picks and find setups. We'll have to see if he can repeat that performance here in game number 3 as Liquid decides they're going to be putting the Poppy in the hands of Lourlo yet again, and GoldenGlue is going to be on Ryze.
Yep, and they're picking their solo laners really early on here so that they end up not caring too much about the pinch on the AD carry position. And I do assume it's Cassiopeia, the common counter to Ryze. Yep, locked in there.
Every time you see the Ryze, the Cassio is always sure to follow.
Or else it's banned out in the 2nd phase. You don't want that to pass through. And now, Dignitas, pinch support, pick support, I think should be the way that they go here. Okay, yep.
Misfortune.
Would consider that a support here.
Could also be an AD carry, so you effectively get double the value out of it by banning it away from Team Liquid.
That's a good point.
Graves going to be banned by Team Liquid, realizing that the enemy team still has a jungler to go for, realizing that Graves is real deadly with that lethality and wanting to remove him from the pool of possibility. One more for each team. Do you continue to target the same stuff or do you mix it up a little bit? That is what we'll see.
I think if you're Dig, you still ban another support. And then if you're Liquid, you think about jungle or support depending on what's banned here. Yes, the Karma out of the way.
Karma.
You could ban Zyra, force them to pick something like Malzahar. They would pick Nami as well on the table.
Zyra has won both games that she's been in this series so far, and she's been instrumental in both games. It hasn't just been a, oh, they picked Zyra and I guess everybody else carried and Zyra was just there. Zyra did a lot in both of these matches, so with her being removed from the picking pool, it'll be interesting to see what the teams decide to do instead to make up for that.
Yeah, you can see heavy deliberation there between Dignitas. Looks like Malzahar is what they might want here in terms of tier list, just dropping down it. I would assume that.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Locked in on Dignitas' side. Xpecial going to be piloting that one this time around. Piglet saying last game was a little bit rougher, but game number 1 was a hard enough carry that we're willing to go for the Caitlyn again.
Bam,
and
bam.
Lulu picked up instantly as the support for Matt.
Yep, I know that Matt was one of the first people playing the Lulu as a counter to the Malzahar, but we've actually seen this bottom lane die to Malzahar very early on a few times, and it's been a big struggle here. This bottom lane so inconsistent. They'll have those great games, and then they'll have those ones where they are invisible. They don't really do anything. And this one here, they have a good lane matchup for themselves. A little bit of a counter, but also Piglet now has some protection as that last pick Elise comes through.
Yep, Chaser going to get to be on the Elise this time. It was banned away from him in game number 2. We'll have to see if that ban was a worthy ban. Now that he gets to play it in game number 3, see if he can step up on the Elise and make those plays happen. A lot of different ways to catch people out on the side of Dignitas. You've got Cocoons, you've got Malzahar ultimates, you've got Deadly Flourishes, you've got Miasmas, you've got Hextech ultimatums. A lot of different ways for bad positioning to be punished if Liquid's not aware of where they are and where their opponents are.
Exactly, ways to stop them from getting away, but also ways to lock them up and make sure that you can get those picks. So Dignitas, a lot of single target pick. Also, they have the ability to dive and get into that back line, and this becomes a big deal for TL. They have to deal with Ssumday if he's diving or splitting, and then they also have to deal with the high damage of Keane, while also considering a lot of big threat too. And TL on the other side, pretty standard across the board in terms of tank composition with a high DPS mid lane mage, long range for Piglet, and then Rengar for ReignOver again.
A lot of peel potential. Honestly, there's a lot of different things you could do with the Lulu in this comp too. I mean, Wild Growth can either be used, if Piglet's fed, protect the Piglet, keep him alive. If you've got either ReignOver or GoldenGlue fed, make them big when they go in there. Make them that much harder to kill. So plenty of versatility with how this might end up going down depending on who Matt feels he needs to prioritize.
Yep, who gets fed in this game. And like we said, this one's for all the marbles here between TL and Dig. Game 3 right now. And right now, 8th and 9th place. We've said it a few times. It's going to be the last time I'm saying it right now because one of these teams is going to start moving up the standings.
And for both of them, that is the dream as Matt zooms his way down towards the bottom lane with his Star Guardian sound effects whooshing throughout Summoner's Rift. Again, a very unexciting level 1.
Yep. And so as we back out of the game for a second and just talk about where these teams, the expectations were for them, TL was coming in with Lourlo performing well week 1. They picked up ReignOver, high-level acquisition, one of the most sought-after Western players. And then they had Piglet and Matt reuniting the bottom lane. There were high hopes for TL coming into this, and now they're sitting at the bottom of the standings. But the same story sits for Dignitas too. They have Ssumday, world-class top laner.
Right.
And right now, you know, we've talked about his backpack. Maybe it can't hold enough for Dignitas to jump in there, but it's not that type of story. Keane's actually stepping up. We're seeing Xpecial make a lot of picks. It's just getting on the same page is so critical for professional League of Legends. You can't just sit there and expect one person to carry you. Everybody has to contribute. So Dignitas, a lot of people power rank them top 3, sitting in bottom 3 right now. And they're trying to change that against TL, who are in the same boat.
Both teams with such similar stories. Now the bottom lane from Dignitas moving up to the enemy red buff. This is the cool thing that you can do with Malzahar support because those crabs are so very effective at taking the buff.
Oh, Piglet.
The crabs tank it away. Piglet's looking to come in and stop these guys if he can. The red buff does get taken by Lod, but now he's exhausted, in a lot of trouble. Heal going to be used flash too. Piglet flashes after them, looking to make this happen. First blood. He's going to be grabbing the red buff too. Xpecial still chasing these guys down. Piglet will drop. Keane's now got the red. Everybody's taking a turn as Matt's going to be going down as well. A double kill for the Dignitas mid laner.
Keane again. What is GoldenGlue doing? He's getting shoved out of the lane.
And he got 4 extra CS, man. What are you talking about?
But like, Keane's still level 1. It's not like the Cassiopeia is going to just dumpster you in lane that early on to the point that you can't get there. That was super surprising. Now his lane is over. He's already in a counter matchup. He's going to need help.
A lot of help. But we'll have to see if that ends up coming. ReignOver's taking that bottom side of the map. Scuttle Crab. Lod's hanging out on the blast cone in case the fight ends up actually going down here. Chaser going to find just an ever so slight amount of damage there. Keane backing himself away. Of course, what you were talking about, he does have the level disadvantage. GoldenGlue had the shoving edge, so Keane wasn't really able to use that edge right now. Here's that level 1 Fiesta.
Yeah, so many Malzahar Boilings. It's great that they go for the strategy, but it was warded. And now Keane zoning out Ryze. They flash over, and then Ryze actually just returns to mid lane. I don't know if he thinks they're just going to get out. They flashed in. Keane didn't walk back. And GoldenGlue was like, it's over. I can't do anything about that. He's too far away. He was zoned by the level 1 Cassiopeia. And then Matt dies too, and it's just ooh.
GoldenGlue gets his level, but that is about it. Not the best place to be. Yeah, I got the level 2, guys. Don't worry. See, 4 extra creeps.
That's the thing. It's a matter of perspective. If my goal was to be like the best caster in the world, it's like, all right, we got some work to do. If mine's to cast a game with Captain Flowers, mission accomplished.
We're here.
You know, we're here.
We made it.
I did it, dude. Go me. But still, it's about, you know, having the right goal as well. So looking at what GoldenGlue was doing there, it just seemed like the rest of the team not on the same page. And Keane is definitely the person who picks up the best part of that. Getting a red buff early on, having 2 kills. And the bottom lane also not too much worse for wear because everybody's blowing summoner spells. It ends up being equal.
Yeah, all 4 summoner spells blown on Team Liquid. Now Piglet gonna get a lot of damage onto him from those visions and those crabs. All 4 summoner spells also gone on Dignitas, means these bottom laners might be a prime target for ganks should either jungler find an opportunity to work their way down there.
Yeah, and that's Jungle of Paradise, right? You're looking at that bottom lane, you still have flashes up. Might be where you want to head next, but no, looks like they want to deal with the top lane. ReignOver trying to charge it up, get a root.
Ooh, Ssumday getting caught by the Bolo, will not be slammed back in the wall. Lourlo and ReignOver still looking to chase this one down. Chaser with the flash cocoon onto ReignOver. Not going to be jumping in for that one. Ssumday gets taken very, very low, though.
Yep, Ssumday a little too far forward, but this is a gigantic wave. He'll have to TP back for this. And now Chaser. Good ward from ReignOver. Make sure that nothing happens there. But yeah, Chaser blowing the flash, trying to save Ssumday / maybe get a counter kill, but he had already taken so much damage. And it's the double Doran's coming out again for Ssumday here, so. Gonna be
Ssumday
a little delayed on the Trinity.
Also going for tactical sweep levels first and foremost this time around. All about that healing when you're playing up against the Poppy, just keeping himself nice and topped off.
Yeah, he's put at least 3 points into it every game. One game he put 4 in there. So it's just about the trading pattern early, but it does delay him having the maxed Q and the maxed E to around, I believe, like level 15, level 14, instead of 13.
It'll only delay the Q max.
Would be 15 for both.
It'll only delay the Q max by 1 level, right?
Yes.
Because it's 10 instead of 9, but then the E is definitely later.
It'd be 15 at that point, 2 levels later.
ReignOver, again, going to be controlling this bottom lane Scuttle Crab. Piglet and Matt with a 33 to 25 CS edge for themselves. Again, nothing compared to game number 1, but still not bad. That's what you expect to see from the Caitlyn with that long-range power, that lane control. Lod with a control ward in his inventory already.
Yeah, I mean, he got 2 assists, and Piglet already has a cull. I mean, mission accomplished as well for him if his goal was to get that first kill, gave him some gold, and then he was able to pick up a cull. So maybe he gets to the point where he's scaling a little bit more. We'll see. I think he got in there. I think he's in there like Swimmer.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's good.
Oh, but so is ReignOver.
This could be interesting.
What? Ah, one of his 8 spider legs just popped out of the bush.
Rip. The setup that was never meant to be. They try to make it happen, but even if it would have, like you said, ReignOver was waiting. We would have had a full-on 3 versus 3. Kind of would have liked to see it, though, with the bloodbath that level 1 was. I could have gone with a level 4 bloodbath to back it up.
I do think, though, if you're both these teams, you're kind of on edge. You both have won a game. Not in, like, the cleanest of ways for losing, because give up early kills, and the early kills have made the difference in both of these games.
True.
Whether it was the ones to Keane or the ones to Piglet. Now they both have kills. So now, figure out what your next plan is, what your next step is. Can you sit back and say, okay, we'll scale? I actually think Dignitas are okay with that, with having the Camille and the Cassiopeia with 2 kills. They're okay to kind of sit on their hands a little bit and not have to be as proactive.
Skirmisher's Saber versus Tracker's Knife between these junglers. A little bit of a difference in playstyle coming out as Chaser's going to be looking to keep those wards down, get a little bit of extra vision around the map, while ReignOver is saying, I'm not losing a fight.
Yep. Bottom lane, turret, taking so much damage here, looking for Xpecial.
ReignOver jumping in, Xpecial still got his shield though. Turret almost going to be dropped. One more auto attack does it. GoldenGlue comes in just to say, hey guys, I helped. And turret first blood goes the way of Liquid.
Yep, Liquid were already pushing in that bottom lane with the counter matchup. And Keane will pick up that blue buff and be able to actually have that mono regen for himself. So good for the Cassiopeia. But now the bottom side of the map is open, and now their TL just going to go back down bottom and farm. I think they head top. I think you head top arena and start shoving that one in.
I mean, that's the name of the game, right? You got a Caitlyn on your team, you take down one turret, you just rotate her around the map and share the love.
Yep.
Plus, Zirene, check this out in the top left part of your screen. My favorite Drake. He's finally showing up. Game number 3.
Rearing his ugly head. But they don't have the bottom
man,
turret,
he's
so
beautiful.
Keane
will
will
actually
best
looking Drake.
Throw himself at this. And I think that this is really good. He has the blue buff. Lots of fangs coming through.
Melting that health away pretty rapidly. A little bit more damage will seal the deal. And
What?
I don't know about that one, Zirene. Keane having to run away now. Petrifying Gaze going to be blocking the way away.
No minions.
Repel's not going to be getting Chaser anywhere. Piglet grabbing the kill, tying this game up 2-2. Dignitas got their objective, though. Xpecial now in some trouble. Might be brought down. Getting himself away ever so barely. Beautiful job, but GoldenGlue says, nope, sayonara. Grabs the kill anyway. Team Liquid grabs 2 for 0, but they lose the Drake.
The blast cone comes up right then afterwards. Oh, that's
a tilter.
That was really big for TL, though. Dignitas, sure, they got the Infernal Drake, but that was really well played. Matt could have used the Blast Cone next to him instead of having to flash over the wall. A little bit of a difference there, but goes over, and then they were having the TP flank from Lourlo, whereas Ssumday, just focus on that top turret. Focus on opening up the map a little bit. Not going to get it yet, though.
74 CS to 54 CS, as well as a 2-kill lead for Piglet off the kind of start that he'd like to be seeing himself off to. Not that game 2 type of a slump. That's the word I'm looking for. Not that kind of a slump that he was in there compared to game number 1. Here's Chaser's attempted escape. It goes nowhere.
Yep, doesn't have anything to repel to. Xpecial not level 6 yet, or else we would have locked up Piglet there. He's literally like a creep or 2 away. If he had level 6, he ulties Piglet there, and then Chaser comes down and does a combo and deals damage, and then they kill him.
Right. The Thunderlords, the Elise combo that includes Thunderlords plus the Malzahar damage would have easily taken Piglet down there, but sadly 1 or 2 creeps can sometimes make the difference. It's kind of what we were talking about in game number 1. You take the extra chicken and you never know what that could end up meaning later. Well, right there, it meant Piglet grabbing a kill instead of a death, and Team Liquid is more than happy about that one. A 1,500 gold lead now in their pockets. Serrated Dirk and 2 long swords built for Lob means he's closing in on that Ghost Blade. Piglet still working towards Infinity Edge. ReignOver popping the ulti.
Looking for the Fed member. He doesn't want to walk by the turret.
Lourlo doing a good job waiting for that slam into the wall. Well coordinated, well executed from Liquid.
Yeah, Keane, he had to walk that way at some point, so he was going to be in Lourlo's range, and then Lourlo just hits him with the E. No way to outplay it there from Keane. No cleanse, no flash. Does have the ultimate. Unsure if that was completely up, but it looked like it was.
ReignOver still hanging around in enemy territory, seeing if he can grab anything if Chaser sticks around a little bit too long. Liquid doing what they want to do, putting some damage into this mid lane turret, like we already mentioned. Rotating the Caitlyn around, utilizing the siege power of that champion after you've cleared away the bottom lane turret. You put her everywhere else, make it so she's allowed to utilize that strength around the map and build yourself up that early objective lead and map control lead, because as those turrets fall, you control more of the map. Your opponents are a little bit more fearful about walking out past their standing turret line. It allows you to just further your game plan that much earlier.
Yeah. And I thought they were going to put the Caitlyn up top a little bit earlier, but what they ended up doing is they ended up going for that dragon fight, and that ended up being a big fight for TL with the flank from Lourlo coming through. So it looked like it was a bad fight for TL at the start with the way they were approaching it, but because everybody had been already communicated the idea of this is our fight, we're taking it, everybody showed up at the right time, and Ssumday didn't TP into that one, and now he doesn't even have a TP advantage for much longer here. Ssumday has not been TPing there, and that may have been the difference.
Ssumday sitting on another CS advantage here in game number 3, so game number 1 was just the one that didn't work out too well for him. Doing pretty good in these tank matchups. Otherwise, closing in on that Trinity Force power spike. Once he has that one, we've already discussed exactly what that means for a Camille and how much damage she'll be able to do in these fights. Just got to hope he can lock down some of those value targets. Plenty of good people to be looking for, but the one thing you've got to remember, those wild growths.
Yep, got to watch out for the Lulu actually just buffing somebody up, giving the knockup as well, and stopping you from killing them. And touching back on Ssumday, yeah, he has that CS advantage because he stayed in top lane, but his TP actually had about 20 seconds left on it before he could use it in the previous fight. So it's not Ssumday's fault, it's the team's fault for going for that Drake when he isn't able to actually run all the way down. He could have run down for it and walked there. So they just didn't seem to have the complete right idea, and Keane thought that maybe they'd be able to take the Drake, which they did, without the assistance.
Well, they're going to have another shot at it here in about 80 seconds or so, because Infernal number 2 will be spawning around then, and you know these teams are not going to be wanting to give that one up without a fight. Dignitas with 1 Infernal already under their belts means that if they could stack that up, it would be 16% bonus damage, which is really, really nice. Well, not bonus damage, but bonus AP and AD, which contributes to your damage. Liquid with a 3,000 gold advantage, though, going to feel likely pretty comfortable contesting them for that one as they continue to shove up this mid wave. We're starting to see some of those items come online first and foremost. You've got your Hex Drinker plus your Warrior enchantment fully completed for ReignOver, so he's going to be that much more resistant to magic as well as having that burst. And Rod of Ages done on Ryze means he's starting to get towards where Ryze wants to be in being both threatening and hard to kill.
They're looking for a pick on someone easy to kill.
ReignOver might just be that, but the Wild Growth comes through. Matt doing a good job keeping him alive. ReignOver can't return the favor. Deadly Flourish finds him. Petrifying Gaze not going to be landing the stun, but the damage continues to come in, and Keane ties up the game, grabbing that kill for himself. Going to be 3-1 on this Cassiopeia. Now Dignitas in a 5 versus 3 for the next 20 seconds. They're looking for the mid lane tier 1. They can look for the Infernal Drake afterwards, even if they don't get this. Great play.
Yeah, they need to get immediately on the Infernal Drake, though, because ReignOver's death timer is exactly tuned up with the Infernal Drake. About a second difference there, though. So now they bring Ssumday down. He's walking, warding. Okay, so he's just going to make sure that Lourlo doesn't join and keeps the tank occupied as they try to do this. Ryze may try to make a play here. GoldenGlue, though.
I don't know what GoldenGlue is going to do. 1 versus
There's the
4.
TP from Lourlo.
Chasers on the Infernal Drake. It is secured. GoldenGlue going to be getting himself in a little bit too deep here. TP channeled from Ssumday, who wants to work his way into this fight, perhaps.
Canceled.
Has to cancel it because of the fact the rest of the team was too far away by the time it would have completed, and Dignitas again grabs himself some Drake.
2 Infernal Drakes on this composition. That's going to have a Cassiopeia. 6 items because you don't buy boots. So if this gets late game, it's going to have a massive punch behind those Twin Fangs.
As Ssumday says, hey, the enemy team wanted to put so much effort into taking down that Drake. Why not take down their turret instead?
Yeah, it was a strange effort because that's kind of the setup that TL had last time too, where they're approaching the Drake. It's a little bit late. It's not the same type of TP flank either, but it doesn't look like a fight that TL can win. The first time, Dignitas actually got the better of, or TL got the better of it because Dignitas didn't have Ssumday there. And
kaboom.
Just had to delay it, make it even worse.
Heartbreaker, man.
Yeah. Oh, but also, like, the Rengar change, for a lot of people who just read the patch notes where it says remove the 1.5 seconds of CC immunity, he still removes CC with his empowered battle roar.
It's still just lens.
Exactly. He's just not immune to the following CCs. So uses it there to get out of the Cassiopeia ultimate slow, and then able to just kind of walk away a bit, but still gets gunned down.
It's like an Alistar ult now instead of an Olaf ult, where
Yes.
you can remove the CC, but you're not just going to be running around being like, hey, what are you guys going to do?
Yeah, it's a QSS.
Right. ReignOver and the rest of Team Liquid, though, they're still ahead in gold, but they've been yielding these objectives in a way that they really don't want to be. And I'm pretty happy about the way this game is playing out so far, because this has been the closest to the game so far. And when you go to 3 games, you always want to see the closest one be the third one. Like, that is the best way for the series to play out. And so far, that's what we're getting here in game number 3. Liquid looking to make some kind of a move onto Ssumday. Bola finds him, but it's not going to do a lot. Neither will that Glitter Lance. A lot of those Liquid boys up here in the top lane, though. Looking to make something happen. Hextech ultimatum. Ssumday with the flash away, trying to get himself out as well, but I don't know what it's going to be. He somehow gets out. The hook shot and the mobility of Camille. ReignOver is not willing to allow him to get all the way away, though. Wants to chase him down, but he's got to be careful. If ReignOver goes into that alone, he'll likely just lose the 1v1 and get destroyed. So he lets Ssumday back, and Ssumday somehow gets away from that. But Team Liquid loses their bottom lane tier 2.
Yeah, they're going to try to get this top one and equalize it back up. But yeah, Ssumday with a good escape there. Only 1 rank into his E. He had used it to get back to the turret and then had to clear out the ward, but bought his time. Hextech ultimatum to avoid, go kind of use it like a dash.
Use it like a Fizz E.
Yeah.
Almost.
A Playful Trickster goes through, flashes away to immediately cancel the effect. But then, yes, the Camille E will actually get you to fly away and hook onto things. We've talked about it with Roots previously. Also works against Poppy Ultimate when you are in the air. This is kind of the order of things. If you get hit up before your E makes contact with a wall, then you'll fly to the wall even while knocked up. But if you fly to the wall or start flying to the wall and you get knocked up, then cancels the move.
It interrupts it. Right. Fair enough. Ssumday utilizing his knowledge of those types of mechanics to get himself out safely in what looked like a certain death situation. That's why he's one of the best. We talked about Ssumday being a world-class top laner. In a lot of people's minds, he's top 3 in the world going into this season. So stuff like that is exactly why he puts himself on those, why people put him on those lists, excuse me, and why he's such an impressive player to watch.
Yeah. And when I'm watching him like build this Camille too, of course Trinity Force first, it makes sense, but then the 4 points into W, so it even delayed his cube max until level 12. He just got it now. You're going to put 2 points into your ultimate at 11, and that'll even further delay his E max. And now start putting points in there, but it's going to be a long time, about level 17 until his E is maxed. But he's in it for the long haul.
4-4, games tied up with 1,500 gold separating the teams. But you've got to remember that even though Dig is down 1.5k, they've got 2 Infernal Drakes under their belt. That's going to be shoring up a lot of that.
Looking for Lourlo.
Lourlo getting himself caught out. Normally Poppy is not the target to go for the burst on, but this time around it's not going to be a problem. Matt trying to get himself away, dodges out away from the 3rd and 4th shot, but Dignitas find their pick. Keane not even remotely afraid of the Rengar that might potentially want to jump on him because he knows that is just going to be a dead Rengar if he does. And Dignitas with the 5 versus 4 advantage going to be looking for T1.
Yep, and GoldenGlue was shoving top lane that entire time. Again, trying to find some CS, and so they lose the mid, and now it's pretty much even goal between Dig and TL, despite the early game going to TL after the first dragon.
190 CS on both of these mid laners, 190 CS on the Caitlyn as well. Jhin falling significantly far behind, down about 40. Same story being told for Lourlo compared to Ssumday there in the top lane. So some pretty big discrepancies between these guys, including one in the jungle.
Yeah, the jungle, about 50 CS difference. Granted, Krugs are worth 10 CS when you clear the whole thing, so he may be just clearing a little bit more there, but I also think ReignOver has been picking up a little bit of that lane farm. But the big one is Piglet. Piglet a little bit behind as well in build because he had to go for a QSS. Just for the Malzahar and make sure that he doesn't get rooted up and suppressed. And that'll actually, like, because he has this advantage with CS, he actually kind of has to dip into his inventory. Like, Malzahar's kind of attacking his inventory, taking attacks on it right now. So despite Piglet being up about 1,500 gold, a lot of that gold is invested into the QSS, which does nothing against the Jhin.
Right, it alleviates some of the pressure from that gold advantage, and that's something really useful about Malzahar. That's one thing he brings to the table, while Liquid says maybe we want to look for Baron, but backs themselves away. That was an interesting attempt, because there was a ward from Dignitas in there, but it was disabled by the control ward. They decided to maybe try to go for it, but then realized they weren't doing enough damage very quickly, and they didn't really have anyone to tank it up, so they backed themselves out.
Digger looking like they want to do the Ocean Drake. They'll probably send Keane to do it by himself because they don't have a pushing top wave just yet. They'll start to push back with GoldenGlue and ReignOver have control of top side. So you actually can't send too many people to do this, or else they shut in your top, they possibly get Baron.
That was a very fast solo Drake take coming out from Keane, grabbing that for his team.
The Honey Fruit.
The Honey Fruit will get him right back up to tip-top shape.
GoldenGlue.
GoldenGlue.
They have to use the ultimate here, but here comes Lourlo, and there's the flash suppression.
Xpecial goes for the flash to make sure there's no way to realm warp out of this one. Lod's got the killing spree. Good pickup coming out from Dig. That's going to be their 6th this game.
They're trying to engage here. Lourlo is in the back line.
Liquid's trying to make some kind of a fight, but Wild Growth is not going to be doing anything. Matt caught out. Curtain Call opened up. Piglet jumped on. Ssumday looking to find the damage. Hextech Ultimatum is issued. 4 dead on the side of Team Liquid. Dignitas has lost only their support, and Lourlo is running for his life. Ssumday chasing him down, finding the damage, not quite going to be getting the slows. Steadfast presence keeping him alive, and Ssumday just says, you know what, forget it, we're going for Baron.
Yeah, they want the Baron right now, but that actually was a lot of time purchased there. GoldenGlue has rank 2 ultimate. ReignOver and GoldenGlue are coming back up here. Cassiopeia, though, just shreds this, so I don't think there is a chance that TL get here. Despite having all that up, it's not going to make a difference.
23 minutes into the game, they are not going to be waiting and dancing around it this time. Zirene. Dignitas grabs their objective off of an awesome fight.
Yeah, GoldenGlue just too far forward. This was something he should have done a long time ago. They were actually toying around with the idea of, you know, Dignitas is going to do Ocean Drake. We should actually do something. ReignOver jumps in, gets silenced, but then also the ultimate from Matt comes through and instantly still ends up with a deleted ReignOver, and Ssumday is doing his job. He's on the backline, flashes, R's, gets the second hit on the Precision Protocol and the true damage onto Piglet. And Lourlo still, I don't know why he's blowing flash there too. He's just trying to buy time so that maybe the rest of his team comes back up and that they can stop Baron from happening, but it's still Dignitas now in the driver's seat. They have Baron buff, they have 3 Drakes, 2 of which are Infernal. They have control of this game now with the Cassiopeia to boot.
Any metric you want to judge this game by. Drakes, Dignitas is winning. Turrets, Dignitas is winning. Kills, Dignitas is winning.
Number of T's and L's in your tri-code.
All right, if that's the metric we want to measure the game by, then Liquid is ahead, but by any other metric, Dignitas is the team that's got this one in their control right now. They've got a couple of tier 2s still left to take. Lourlo and ReignOver finding an opportunity to take down Ssumday here potentially, but Ssumday showing what Camille can do, almost making that a 1-for-1, but they will trade the tier 2 for.
If he had actually used Hextech Ultimatum earlier and had it available, if he used it on ReignOver, it does extra damage to the person that is inside of the Hextech Ultimatum, your main target. You do percent HP damage, so that may have been the difference there if he had used it earlier.
Dignitas will accept the trade for now, but the one bummer about that for these guys is even though Ssumday is going to be back up in time to allow them to continue to use the Baron buff, it's not going to be back up on their split pusher. So it's going to be a lot harder to mount a successful 4-1 split like they would otherwise want to.
Yep. Moving away from having the double teleports here in this game. So GoldenGlue is kind of the split pusher for TL, but it hasn't been a very good strategy for them so far. It hasn't been executed appropriately. He can't really 1v1 anybody yet. And the other team is just doing a great job of collapsing, so Dignitas are stopping GoldenGlue from pretty much contributing to the game.
And going back into our time machine and revisiting what we were saying before we even got into this series to start off with, Dignitas is a team that in week 4 was playing against Envy, and they won, and that was the game that would decide who was 10th and who was 9th.
Yep.
And then just earlier this week, they played against FlyQuest, one of the top teams, and beat them 2-0.
Second place at the time.
Yeah, and the question is, which Dig is going to show up today? Was the FlyQuest thing a fluke? Does Dig actually have this like awesome upward momentum? Are they going to start doing some real work? And right now in game number 3, they're looking like a team that might be able to start that climb up.
Yeah, so when Dignitas beat Envy, people went, all right, definitely not 10th. They
Not
beat
10th.
FlyQuest,
We got
maybe
something.
they're top. If they beat TL here, definitely not 9th.
Lourlo going to be bursted down. Wild Growth is on him, but again, he's just not tanky enough. You don't say that about Poppy every day. Piglet trying to outrun the bullets. Death will not be catching up to him today, but Matt's not going to be telling the same story. Xpecial eats a cupcake, but it will not matter. Dignitas has some spiderlings here to help them try to burn down this turret. They've got that one. 6 turrets now. Dignitas with all the tier 2s down.
And you can see Camille, Ssumday immediately taking advantage of what they have. Has the Tiamat, will start shoving in the mid lane here and making sure that they're able to actually push more waves, get more off of that, and that's how you increase how much you get off a play.
Chaser tanking the turret aggro for the time being, doesn't really want to be there. Keane and Laud finding some decent damage onto this tier 3, but they got to be careful about it. No more Baron buff means the minions will evaporate rather quickly as the damage comes in. Ssumday almost able to grab that mid lane tier 3, but instead backs himself away, wants to play it safe. Ocean Dragon in 40 seconds is another objective for Dignitas to take.
Yep. And I was saying that's how you get the most off of that, but that ended up being something that hurt them because Ssumday wasn't there to deal damage to the top turret, but maybe it ended up giving them a little bit more in terms of lane priority. It's these small push and pulls where you retrospect it and you go, okay, you know what? Maybe Ssumday should have been top, or maybe they should have had another person mid. It's hard to call, but in these split-second decisions, you make it right, you end up winning it, and that's good that they focus Lourlo down there. They collapse on him. You can see it's the difference in the backline threat. Ssumday dives in, and everybody really just has to pay attention to him a bit. He's got CC. He's actually landing it, diving in, and preventing people as everybody's kiting back. And Lourlo's overreaching for the team composition he has, because Rengar wants to dive in. Lulu's going to help, but Caitlyn kind of wants to kite back, and here comes Keane.
Catch potential coming through. Nice Realm Warp from GoldenGlue, getting Team Liquid away. Wild Growth cast onto Piglet. Not going to be accomplishing much at all. Laud blocking up that ace in the hole. Keeping himself alive and finds the shot at the back end of it to get the kill onto ReignOver instead. Xpecial going for the lockdown onto GoldenGlue. Ssumday right into the fight. Hextech Ultimatum grabbing one. Lourlo is going to be the next one if he's not careful. Grabs the kill onto the spider. Smashes him with the hammer, and Ssumday cuts him to pieces. Double kill for the top laner of Dignitas. 1 for 4. That is a fight.
And that's going to be another Drake going over to Dignitas. If they want it, it looks like they have more in their eyes now. It's like, all right, you know what? Ssumday softened up that mid turret, and they're doing it again. Top wave already shoving. Mid wave, they're going to push it in, try to finish off this turret, and Ssumday already bottom to push out this wave.
Dignitas, they grabbed Baron at 23 minutes. They're grabbing mid lane inhibitor at 29. Baron going to be respawning here in about 1 minute. Drake is up and running, and since he was delayed, by the way, Since it's 29 minutes, anytime after 29 minutes, the next Drake is going to be Elder after the current one dies. So this will be the last elemental spawning here in game number 3. Here's a look at how it all went down.
Yep. After the Realm Warp to get them all out, ReignOver went in. No kill there for him. Almost got 2, but it's still not enough. And then the Lourlo interruption, but Ssumday is now there, and Ssumday deals a massive amount of damage. Piglet wants to turn this around. Nope, gets hit, has to QSS, flash away, but Ssumday follows immediately with a flash and a kick to the face. And picks up the double kill with the tactical sweep.
Awesome job. 3-1-3 here on the Camille. Going to be going with Titanic Hydra this game instead of the Ravenous. So
back and forth.
Expecting to take a little bit more damage in the team fights. Wants to make sure he doesn't go down too quickly. And Lourlo's Poppy, just the story that we've been seeing with this pick throughout this game is normally you pick Poppy to be this massive wall in fights, this huge disruptor, but every time he goes in, he's just getting deleted. And you can see what's happening over time is Dignitas has just taken over. The graph stays relatively in Liquid's favor for a good while, but as soon as that Baron happens, that 23-minute point, that's the switch from blue to red.
Yeah, and I like that extra ghost graph in there. It's like, this is what could have been. That's just the big...
The alternate timeline graph.
Yeah, Dignitas just looked like a gigantic swing in the game for them, and absolutely was. ReignOver, ultimates popped. Ssumday off on the left side, 2 levels up, though.
Ssumday's not concerned about fighting ReignOver 1v1 right now. They would have to bring way more than just that cat to deal with him. 278 farm, 3-1-3 overall, 5-1-5 on the Cassio, 5-1-8 on the Jhin. Everybody doing a great job so far on Dignitas. Team Liquid, they've got the 3 items on the Caitlyn. They've got the QSS as well that she's had for a long time. So Caitlyn's at the point now where she can, do decent damage in these fights. But the problem is Camille's starting to get tanky, and that is a problem when you don't have any armor penetration yet. Dignitas now going to be melting this Baron down very rapidly. They've already got it. Ssumday right into the fight. Piglet is going to be ulted, but not saved. Matt's going to be going down next. Maybe just a little bit later. They've got 3 kills. ReignOver's done too. One more onto Matt. Chaser looking for that spider bite if he can grab it. Deadly Flourish going to be sidestepped. Cocoon's going to miss 2. Matt's just buying all the time his little legs can get him, but I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference here. Ssumday 1v1 against Lourlo. Not too worried about it. Chaser still living up to his name and chasing all the way. Matt trying to escape. Repel comes up and over. It was a noble attempt, little Lulu, but it's not going to do anything at the end of the day. And ladies and gentlemen, after 3 games, Dignitas is going to find their victory over Liquid 31 minutes in.
Sloppy early game. Looked like TL got too aggressive, but Dignitas' punish game was on point. And I do think that they definitely deserve this win here over TL. A lot of mistakes from TL in this game, and especially in this series.
There were. Both teams, especially after that start that was kind of all over the place, the level 1 that we saw around the red buff, it was like both these teams, are they going to go so hard this game just turns completely crazy? And for a while, it was very close. We saw the Team Liquid gold advantages while the Infernal Drakes were being taken by Dignitas early on. But like we discussed, when that gold graph showed up on the screen, it was the Baron at 23 minutes. It was the fight that led to that Baron that was the switch for Dignitas to turn on and make that game theirs.
It was definitely a slugfest here. You see GoldenGlue getting up, shaking hands. Took him a bit, though, because it's a very, very shocking for TL, who expected to be higher in the standings. But Dignitas, they were down there in the standings, fighting for, like you said, 10th place at one point against Envy last week. And now it's been 3 matches in a row for Dignitas. They're hitting a stride here. Xpecial back in, seems to be doing work for them. Very high KP in that game, 1-2 and 14, playing the Malzahar, playing the Zyra as well. So Dignitas now, that bottom lane didn't get completely rolled over this game, and they had to blow all summoner spells at the beginning of the game too.
Dignitas now 6-1 over the last 7 games. That is some serious upward momentum for these guys. Doing a good job, coming back into things. Like we mentioned earlier, this is week 5 of the LCS, so we're about at that halfway point, cresting over the middle. And we're going to be going into the back half of the season here once we're done with this week.
Hump week, yeah.
Yeah. So once we're done with that, it's going to be the part where we're closing in on, do you have the standings you need for playoffs? And this has been our story that we're talking about so far, but it's really important to highlight. Because if you're not going to playoffs, you're either going to relegations or you're going to sit home.
Yeah, and I think that, we're talking about playoffs a lot where it's, are you in playoffs? But the other question is, are you a playoff team? Can you perform in playoffs? Sure. getting to playoffs gets you some time to work on that. But in an ideal world, you're already a playoff team. You're working on it every week. You're improving. This week, I definitely think Dignitas, it's over for them. They are already 2-0 on the week. Their week 5 is done. They actually showed major improvement in communication, being on the same page, and playing relative to Ssumday. So they were actually doing a good job there. And I think like Keane playing to the bottom lane and getting a few kills in that early game to equalize it, if he doesn't show up, completely different look for that game. And I think that that's what really I take away from Dignitas is, you know what, they're climbing up the standings, but if their communication looks even better, if Chaser can start synergizing with the bottom lane a little more early game, that's how they'll start opening it up and start being a playoff team.
And we've been looking for consistency from the rest of the team apart from Ssumday for a long time from this squad, essentially since the split started. And with Keane stepping up like he did in these games today, that's what they need, for Keane to continue to dial that in that way. But for more on the Dignitas win, let's check in with Freak and the victorious AD carry.
Thank you very much. Great cast today. I'm here with Laud, Benjamin DeMonk.